What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy right here, MMA Reloaded. We are live and direct for episode 6 of MMA Reloaded Real Talk, the only show where we talk real and we never lie, cheat, or steal. And folks, I just want to say today is a very, very big show because tomorrow night we go back to the cage. We go to Jacksonville, Florida, where UFC 249 will begin the return of mixed martial arts live on your TV screens. Today, folks, since we are one night away from UFC 249, the weigh-ins are all done, and we have championship fights, and we have a stacked ass card for you and every single fan that's not watching this. Yo, it's a stacked card for y'all too. Folks, today it gives me the pleasure of sitting and getting the opportunity to chat with King of the Cage Bantamweight champion. He's also competed at flyweight. Johnny Munoz, Kid KVENBO, is here with us today. 10-0. And right now, the face of King of the Cage as a brand, Johnny Munoz, is set for Dana White's Contender Series Season 4. And also, folks, for y'all MMA Reloaded fans out there, MMA Reloaded merchandise will be on sale soon. And folks, I guarantee these shirts, the track bottoms, the hats, it will all be worth the wait. It will all be worth the wait. So folks, as we sort of get ready for Johnny Munoz, if you haven't watched him, if you aren't following him on Instagram, I suggest follow him on Instagram at Kid KVENBO, at Kid Venbo, at Kid Venbo. Follow him on Instagram because this kid is something special. He is no doubt one of the leaders of the new breed in MMA fighters. And I'll tell you something now, folks, he has already been at his young age in such controversy in his career. Now, folks, it is one of the best times to be an MMA fan, to be a UFC fan. First of all, folks, welcome. If you're just joining us to episode 6 of MMA Reloaded Real Talk, we are live and direct into your laptop screens, your phone screens, wherever you may be watching YouTube live. So today, folks, I suggest that you sort of take a deep breath in. If you're still trying to digest it, don't. Digesting is done. It is done. And UFC 249 is real. And it is real talk right here, man. Folks, it should be a gift. Watching UFC 249 should be a real gift for us as fans. No doubt it's going to be the shit. It is going to be the shit. And folks, after that, May the 13th and May the 16th are just as stacked as each other. Former PFL world champion Felipe Lins will be coming to the UFC and will be competing. I can't remember what event it was, May the 13th or May the 16th, but he is coming to the UFC. And folks, this is why I always stress about PFL, about ONE FC, Because if one of their fighters comes over, yeah, y'all best be ready to know who he or she is. And that's facts. Also, folks, I apologize. I know for the past couple of shows we've had, our quality has been better. The video has been better. But today, folks, having a bit of teeny weeny bit of technical difficulties. But that will not affect from having a great show today. And you know what? Let me just break it down right now, because we've broken the keys to victory down. And of course, we will get through more keys to victory today with Johnny Munoz. We have also set the stage not only on the podcast, but on our Instagram page at MMA Reloaded. If you're not following, follow, like, and subscribe. But folks, I mean, when you look at this card, when you look at UFC 249, I've overhyped it. I have overhyped UFC 249 because it's one of those things that you can't really put your finger on. But at this point in time, because you're obviously too worried about the pandemic. But UFC 249 is happening. It is happening. You can't put your finger on it? Well, I can. Look right there. I'm putting it. Yeah. Folks, the unreal has become real. And UFC 249 is happening. And in 5 short minutes, Kid Venbo, Johnny Munoz, is joining us here today. Gotta make myself look purdy, you know what I'm saying? All right. Listen back, Johnny. When he's ready, folks, you'll see one of the most humble. I have to give a big shout out to all the guests, all the special guests that we've had here on the show. Anthony Angiakawani, Jerome Renegade Rivera, Gifted Gabriel Green, Kevin Worth, right? And now Kid Venbo, Johnny Munoz, all these guys, I have to give you a big round of applause, because so respectful, so humble, and I am so appreciative for you guys coming and accepting my invitation to come and be a part of the future in MMA social media, and that's MMA Reloaded. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. So folks, we are just about ready to copy the invite to him. I'm excited for this one. I know y'all will be too. So, folks, loads of big things happening. MMA Reloaded, the merch, the cards, UFC 249, and UFC Fight Nights, all the way, tracking all the way down this month, next month, but the month after that, and straight after this lockdown. I bet you the UFC, Dana White, will have no hesitation in just creating cards and creating shows, trying to get the UFC back on track. And folks, of course, if you haven't watched our video on how social media has impacted MMA, during this time of COVID-19 pandemic, I suggest you go and watch it. Because, well, I'm not just saying that because it's just me, you know what I mean? I'm saying it because it's true and it's facts. See, you get all these things that people forward you on Instagram or WhatsApp, yeah, and they're saying, "Oh, watch this. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is legit." But watch MMA Reloaded talk about, well, me. I'm MMA Reloaded. Watch me talk about the impact that social media has had on MMA during the lockdown and during quarantine. We are waiting for Johnny Munoz right now, folks, and he should be here in no time at all. Folks, it is going to be an eye opener today. It is going to be an eye opener tomorrow. I have to say, it felt good to watch weigh ins again. And, folks, of course, if you're a new fan and you want to watch an event, normally, yeah, I would suggest don't watch new events. Don't watch it because impressions can be different. If you watch new events as opposed to the Attitude Era of MMA, if you want, where Randy Couture, uh, Tim Sylvia, Frank Mir, all these guys, Big Nog, Rampage, Rashad, they were dominating the scene. I would say watch fights from that era, 2008, 2007. I would say watch it back even 2005. I would say go all the way back to the Ultimate Fighter 1 and watch UFC. Because the that's where the Attitude Era of MMA culminated, is from the Ultimate Fighter 1, and that's facts. And that's the bottom line because MMA Reloaded said so. So, folks, as we wait anticipatingly for JM, Kid and Venbo, Johnny Munoz, you can see how the UFC, how MMA develops with young lions. And I want to thank everyone for their support. I want to thank everyone for their support. I want to thank everyone for their appreciation. And the podcast is something for the fans to get to know the young lions of mixed martial arts. And that's exactly what my plan is. JM should be joining us very soon, folks. Very, very soon. Folks, I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. Let's get it on. Watching old celebrity deathmatch videos. Man. Let's do it. So, folks, let's hope you guys enjoy this one. Episode 6, MMA Reloaded Real Talk, the show where we talk real, never lie, cheat, and steal. So, folks, he is on his way. And you know what, man? I feel like a fanboy. with this shit because I'm waiting. I don't mind waiting, man, because it gives me a chance to speak to the fans, and then my fans, it gives me a chance to speak to you guys, and just tell you the rundown, really. Tell you the rundown, really. And Johnny Munoz is just about ready, folks. So let's do this shit. Can't wait, man. This could be it, folks, for MMA Reloaded, our first champion, well, current champion, that we have had here on the poddy. Of course, folks, I've said it before. I am greatly appreciative for all the guests, all the special guests, all the fighters that have agreed to be on the show. How respectful they are, and how grateful they are of their careers. So, folks, this one is heating up, and it's gonna heat up for sure. Here we go, folks. Johnny,
What's up, man? How are you?
what's going on, champ? How are you, man?
Doing good, man. Just been training and having terrible internet connection, but I just got it fixed right now, so we good.
That's cool, man. Take your time, bro. So obviously, in this time of lockdown and quarantine, first of all, bro, I want to just get your feeling of how you're doing. How's training going, man? First of all.
Yeah, man, it's going good. I still been training despite all this. My cousins, they train as well, so I think that helps a little bit. But I just been at home, just training, doing what I can, stay in shape. There should be no reason to get out of shape. I've seen that with a few people. I think it really comes down to discipline, man. Like it's all in your head. Like even though with the current situation, everyone has different opinions on it, but there should still be no reason you should not be putting your health first. And when I say health, like obviously exercising, like 30 minutes a day or something to stay in shape, because that could also lead to other problems. So I've been doing that, and I feel good. I actually feel like actually improved this last, like, during all this, like that was my goal. Like, okay, well, what are we gonna do? We got to stay in. So my goal is to improve as a fighter, and I feel I've done that. And but yeah, I'm just staying in shape, so I'm ready for whatever fight comes forward.
Man, and I think that's not going to be too far off now. We're just getting to ease it off, and I think by the time mid-July, mid-August runs around, bro, I think by that time you'll be getting ready for the Contender Series, and I think that right now, but I was just giving the fans a little introduction about who you are and who Johnny Munoz is as a fighter. 10-0, bro, undefeated right now, and I just told the fans that to me, you're the face of King of the Cage, man, and it's not going to be that long that you'll be the face of the UFC's bantamweight division. So my first question is going. How do you feel at this stage of your career right now, bro? Of course, there's a lot of added pressure with keeping a spotless record, and How do you feel in your career and where you are right now, man?
Yeah, man. I feel real good. There's always room for improvement. I'm very confident in myself and my ability for what I could do, and I feel I'm a lot better fighter than I was last year, and it just keeps going. I'm always improving, uh, and there's always room to improve no matter what. So I'm one of those people that like I'm never completely satisfied. Like there's always room to improve, regardless if I'm 10-0, if I'm King of the Cage champ. Even if you win a UFC title belt, there's always room for improvement, and I think that's one thing that separates me from other people, because I'm always looking to improve. I enjoy training, getting those reps in, and getting better. I want to stay ahead of the competition. So for me, I'm excited. I can't wait to be in the UFC. And yeah, you're right. I am the face of King of the Cage. There ain't nobody else in all weight classes that could do what I do in the cage. And obviously, the fans speak for themselves. So every time I come out, I hear that yelling. And yeah, my next fight, whether it's in the UFC, um, there's gonna be no fans there, but I'm down for that. For me, it's cool to have fans there, but at the end of the day, I'm in it for me. It's great. I appreciate the fan support. But at the end of the day, I'm a gladiator. I'm a warrior, and I got to go in there and showcase my skills. And I'm sure the fans at home will appreciate that.
Oh, man, you're damn right, bro, and I love the attitude, man. I love the fact that you know that there is room for improvement, no matter what your record is, no matter how experienced you are. And I think right now at this stage of MMA in this current scene, some fighters tend to forget that they need to improve.
Of course.
Because they think that you know what, I'm 20-0, I'm 18-0, I'm undefeated, and I'm the best and this, but they don't understand that there's more graft to get in. There's more work, and so, bro, I admire that attitude, man. And there, especially in UFC, guys like Conor McGregor, yeah, bro. First of all, he does not carry that attitude of, oh, I still need to develop. So,
Yeah.
I mean, do you think coming up in the regionals and Legacy and King of the Cage, CXF, there's a lot more emphasis on work and how much you put in?
So you're like, as far as in the regional scene, is there a lot more work, you're saying, compared to fighting like in a higher level?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the work ethic's the same if you have the same mindset. I mean, at the end of the day, we're mixed martial artists. And I think a lot of fighters, they tend to forget that we're in a martial art. Mm, this is a sport, but at the end of the day, it's a martial art. The whole point of martial arts is you're training your mind, your body. You want to be in optimum shape. Uh, you're always learning new skills. That's why it's called mixed martial arts. And the martial art aspect to it is like having discipline and really having a good work ethic and showcasing your skills. That's the whole point of martial arts. And you see that in a lot of martial art films. Like if you watch it, even though they're movies and all, but they have good martial art foundation, like the philosophy of martial arts. And I feel like you got to be able to carry that over. One fighter in particular that does that, GSP, George St. Pierre, he's big on that. He's always improving himself. Like that was a fighter that I admired a lot watching, just because his philosophy on training. Like he trained his wrestling, his jiu-jitsu, his striking, everything. He made it a goal to learn every one of them individually. Then you put it together in your style of fighting for MMA, and I think that's a big thing. But most guys, man, like most fighters are lazy, bro. Like I see it all the time, like on Instagram. These are even people I know personally, I follow. Like I'm not afraid to call them out. They want to message me, I'll tell them like, hey, it's you. But my thing is, if you get offended, then obviously it is you. But if you don't take no offense to it, then maybe you don't know, or it ain't you. Like there's so many people, like I see them, they just train one skill set. They're so lazy to train all the other areas because they're not good at it. They're like maybe good at one, and they're used to being, oh, I can beat this guy with this. But they don't want to learn the other stuff, because when they learn the other stuff, they feel like foolish. They're not very educated in that discipline, and they lack the knowledge, and they're just lazy to do it, or they just act like, oh, whatever. So my thing is, like, on social media, like with social media, there's always people watching us. In my opinion on it, there's always somebody better than you on your social media that's watching you. So you need to like humble yourself, be true to yourself, and know what you could really do before you start really expressing yourself out there.
That's, bro, that couldn't be more true, especially today. Especially today, where being well-rounded and being the master of every discipline instead of one is so important. And you know, man, that brings me to my next question, because right now it's all about the future. It's all about a new era, new blood in mixed martial arts. And it's like you said, bro, before, martial arts, you look at discipline and you look at tradition. Yeah, there's 100 years, hundreds of them, man, thousands of years of martial arts tradition. And I admire the fact that you admire someone like George St. Pierre, because, bro, that is, if you want to model your fight yourself after a fighter, George St. Pierre is the one, man. So I admire you for that. And our next question for you, JM, is legacy, CXF, King of the Cage, Cage Fury, things that promotions like that, bro. They sort of promote and pride themselves on promoting the next generation, the next breed. Yeah, and as the king of the cage champ, how do you feel in that environment? How do you feel competing in that environment where there are young lions just like you, yeah, and there's guys who basically you have a bounty on your head and they want to take it?
Yeah, man. So like, I think it's, you know, it's cool. Like for me, I don't like stress out about it. Like knowing that people were gunning for me, they want to take my spot. I don't take no offense to it. Uh, so it is what it is. Like that's this is part of the game we're in. We're all trying to get to this one spot, but the difference is I'm gonna make it, and they're not. So, and for them, not for me to accomplish what I need to do, I need to be disciplined. I need to make sure I train, and that's my motivation for training, because I know I'm very aware that if I don't train, that other person in the cage is gonna hurt me. You know what I mean? So that's my whole thing to training. Like I train hard. I'm disciplined. I never miss a training session, regardless. Even in quarantine, like my sleep schedule has been a little thrown off lately, just because it's different. But I've been playing like Warzone a lot lately. But there's been a couple nights I stood up a little later than I should have, and I was like, man, I'm gonna have regrets in the morning. And I get up in the morning, and I know like I have like a training session, a workout session. I almost want to call off, but I was like, no, that's not who I am. Regardless, I got to be able to accept the consequences. So I'm very disciplined when it comes to my training. I take it very serious. And it frustrates me if I line up training with other people. They show up late. They're not taking it serious. They're not taking their time. And so that for me, I take training very serious. And so, yeah, that's what motivates me to stay on top of the hill.
That's, man. And when you train right now in quarantine, bro, do you have a set routine, or do you just go by your gut feeling?
No, I've been having a set routine. Obviously, it's different than going to the gym with all your teammates, but I just adjusted to it, man. Like, with the whole situation going on, I'm not just going to stop. So I had to just adapt on the fly and just kind of schedule things out accordingly to what I'm able to do and all that stuff. And, I've still been training, just obviously just scheduled it differently, but it's been good so far. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited to get back to the gym and train with people. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to sit around and drool. Like there's so many people on social media, man, like it's so annoying. Like during all this stuff, like, obviously people have more times to be on their phone, even though a lot of them were like on their phone beforehand. But like me, I had more time like to look at stuff, and I'm just saying, man, like, can't believe like these people, man. Like it just amazes me the way people think about stuff, or yeah, I heard this, I researched this. I'm like, you don't even know what research is. Like that is not research. Or just complain about stuff. And my whole thing is like, everybody has their own opinion, but be a man or woman of your opinion. Don't say one thing on a Facebook post and then someone else contradicts what you said, then you're on there like, oh yeah, I totally agree with you, bro. Totally agree with you. But on your post, you said the exact opposite. But you're agreeing with this person now because maybe, I don't know, they're a family friend, they're your boss, or maybe somebody that could kick your ass, so you're agreeing with them. Because I lose respect for people like that. Like, if you have an opinion, if I disagree with your opinion, I totally respect your opinion. That's your opinion. Stand strong to it. Be 100 to your opinion, but don't contradict what you say when you agree to one thing and then you're over here saying the exact opposite. I just lose respect for people like that. And especially the people that are saying this stuff and they're not out there fighting the cause. You know, I'm a big believer. Like, if I can't do nothing about it, I'm going to focus on what I can control. You know, I'm not going to just say stuff because my thing is, like, people talk too much on social media. Go out there, do it.
I think, bro, I think you hit the nail right in the head, bro. You put the spike right in the coffin. I think, bro, before, that's why I started this page, is because I think people don't understand. Yeah, you can join all these discussion groups. You can join social media groups on Facebook. Yeah, you can do all that shit. But at the end of the day, you won't know it until you actually try it. That's my thing, bro. I think until you actually tie up some gloves and knuckle up, you won't know shit.
Yeah, well, like social media, man, like it's giving people obviously a voice that they never had before because they were too they didn't have the cojones to freaking say it before, you know. But now they're on social media behind the desk, behind their phone. They're like, they feel brave. Oh, I'm entitled to this. But before all this, you weren't doing that before. So it's like, I don't know. Like, if you're gonna say something, be true to your word. You know, I'm big on like people's character. I feel that's what really defines an individual's character is their word. Because it's easy for us to say something, but it's a harder task for us to actually go out and do it. So I feel like regardless if you say something, you go out and do it, and you fail, I still give you a lot of respect because you went out there and did it compared to most people that would never even try to attempt to do it. You know.
Bro, I praise that, man. That is, bro, that is so true. Yeah, and you don't even see it right now with in the public. You see it. I've seen it on ESPN with Stephen A. Smith. Yeah?
Oh man,
that guy.
I laughed at some of the stuff. There's like memes about it and everything, but he's I don't know. That guy is some of the stuff he said, man. It's weird.
Exactly the point you were making just there. Yeah, about social media. It can be applied to Stephen A. Smith and a guy like that. I think I think he cannot just come onto a UFC show, stand next to someone like Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier, and think that he knows everything.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that with the ESPN. You're seeing that a lot more. All these like boxing commentators or analysis, like, and they know their sport, but MMA is like a different sport, you know. It's crazy to see all that. I'm actually trying to find the YouTube link right now. I have it. I'm trying to post it. So
okay.
That's
I don't sent it and as we move on, and we move on to you, champ, we talk about your admirations, your inspirations in the sport. George St. Pierre. Personally, you're known for slick jiu-jitsu. You're known for slick submissions. You're known for slick grappling. Yeah, but how do you feel did you start off as a striker? Was Brazilian jiu-jitsu and grappling your main background? How did it start off?
I started off as a street fighter, man. No, I'm just kidding. That's a typical MMA guy. Oh, I grew up hard. Like, I had a
Kimbo slice.
Like, okay, dude, nobody cares about your song no more. But no, man, like I started off doing jiu-jitsu. My dad was the black belt. So my dad got me, I started doing jiu-jitsu at 5, and I didn't like doing it, just always trying to look for a way out of it. But my dad was like very strict. I knew like my dad was I learned a lot of tough love from my dad. and like some people didn't agree with it, but to me, like if it was really bad, I wouldn't be talking to them today. And I thank my mom and my dad for everything. They really showed me discipline, and they taught me not to quit on things you start. So with jiu-jitsu, like I wanted to like quit, but he was like, no, you need to do it twice a week. Stay in shape, learn self-defense, so you don't get like bullied and you develop confidence. So after a while, I knew like, okay, well, they ain't budging, so I got to do this. And at the time, there wasn't a lot of kids either. And like the kids that did show up, like were a few years older than me. So I was always a smaller kid. And like, because they're older and stuff. So I just roll with them. And, I was beating up bigger kids like in the jiu-jitsu training sessions. And then, after a while, I'm like, oh man, I'm getting good at this. And then like, I remember my dad watching fights like with his friends, like pride fighting, old school UFC, and like seeing some of those fights. And I was like, man, I want to do that one day. That looks like so cool, especially the pride fighting. Like seeing like Rampage, like I remember all those fights, Sakuraba, Ricardo Arona, and even like King of the Cage back in the day as well. Saw a lot of those fights. Like I remember Uriah Faber back in the day, Charles Crazy Horse, even Rampage back in the day was in there too. But yeah, seeing that, and I was like, man, I want to do that one day. So then, but obviously for kids, you can't fight. There's people doing it illegally, kids. But all those kids I know that were doing that, they burnt out. They don't even train anymore. So, my dad was not pushy on the competition. He wanted me to train to keep that fire going. And, I'm glad he did that. The fire's still going now. So, I just started doing jiu-jitsu tournaments, did all that. Blue belt, like I won like worlds at blue belt, purple, brown, different confederations, IBJJF, SJJIF. And then, eventually I was like, you know what, I want to go to MMA, but this is what I originally wanted to do anyway. And then so I started just learning, putting the pieces together. And yeah, I'm here today. But the transition was it was rough because you have to change a lot of things with jiu-jitsu. So it was a little frustrating in the beginning, but I feel like now, like where I am today, and when I first started the MMA journey, like complete difference. And I can't wait to see where I'm at like in like 2 years, because I'm noticing my progression like just every year, every 6 months.
I mean, if fans go back and watch your fights, yeah, they'll know your progression. Yeah, bro, because it's so evident. Every fight I've watched of yours, bro, and I remember when we agreed to do this, I went straight and I watched a few of your fights, bro. I mean, it took me away. Yeah, it just showed that you don't have to be in the UFC. You don't have to be a Bellator to be great. You know what I'm saying? And I saw that sort of look, the spark, the superstar quality in you, man. And I think that's why you're a champ, is because of that passion and because of the swagger. And I want to just talk to you about that, man, about your confidence and your swagger, because King of the Cage, you haven't just fought a bantamweight. You've been, if I'm not mistaken, you've been a featherweight, and you've been a flyweight, if I'm not mistaken.
Flyweight, no, so there's a confusion on that. So with King of the Cage, their 135-pound division is actually called flyweight. So it's a little weird. So I think when you look up like my stats, that pops up as I'm a flyweight. I would not be able to make 125s. But yeah, so I've only fought at 35 and 145 a couple times. And
what do you walk around? What do you walk around at, kid?
Usually like 160s, like low 160s.
And in terms of weight cutting, and at your age, yeah, bro, you're so young. What's your technique and your strategy for cutting weight if you walk around at 160 and trying to make 135?
Yeah, like so for me, like I feel like there's a cutting weight. It's not easy, but it takes discipline as well. Like I see so many fighters in MMA, they're doing all this stuff. Like they're hiring food nutrition people, which is great. I think if it helps you do it, but I'm seeing like everybody's all over the place with the cutting weight. Like one fight camp, they're doing this, and then they're always experimenting. Me, I've done it the same way the whole time, And you know, I'm not cutting weight's hard, bro. It's mental. It's like mentally drained. You're in there. You want to get out, but it's all in your head. Like if you just plan ahead, discipline, you're gonna get through it, and you have a strong mind. So like for me, you know, I just like monitor my eating, make sure I'm not eating late, because that's one thing. You eat, go to bed eating late. Not only do you fall asleep heavy, but you have a hard time sleeping as well. It messes up your sleep cycle. So we need rest to be able to perform in our training. And if we're not performing in our training, we're not gonna be able to cut that weight because we're not burning the calories. So for me, that's what I do. Really monitor my eating and do a lot of cardio as well. Which I mean, I'm doing that in my MMA practices already. So I'm like losing that weight. I sweat so much. I don't know how many calories I burn. So that's one thing with me. I'm always burning a lot of calories, whether I'm training, doing strength and conditioning, cardio exercise like running, cycling, jump rope, all that stuff. I'm always doing that stuff. That helps me burn my calories. And I'm also like, I'm able to eat pretty good throughout my fight camp. I don't starve myself. I don't believe in like, I'm not going to eat 2 days. I'm not going to eat 1 day. The fasting stuff I think is good. But yeah, I think you should always be eating during your fight camps, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to perform well. And you're also prone to more injury and getting knocked out, because then your brain function is not all there. So for me, that's what I do. I just like really watch what I eat, you know, meal prep, that kind of stuff, and do a lot of cardio and make sure I'm disciplined on my training 2-3 times a day, to be able to lose that weight and get to bed on early and stuff. So the earlier I go to bed, I'm able to not necessarily sleep longer. Well, I guess you could say sleep longer. It depends how you look at it. Sleep longer, so you're more rested. But at the same time, while you're sleeping, you're fasting. You know, that's an easy way to fast if you're able to get more hours of sleep.
Yeah, man. I never even thought of that, bro. I mean, sleeping early and you know, and all that. Is that, do you do that just during the weight cut and use sleeping as a way for fasting, or is that how it is for Johnny Munoz? Is that your routine? Is to go to bed?
Usually yes, but right now, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. That's my routine is thrown off right now. I've been going to bed a little later than I would like. I'm trying to get that down. It's been tough because I think I'm still training, but it's just like, man, like sometimes it's just like, man, it gets boring. Like you want to do something and you get caught up. I don't know. Like me, I like to read books. So I might get caught up in reading, and the next thing I know, I'm like, oh man, it's like 2 a.m. Or like I'm playing Warzone, and you get addicted to that. Then all of a sudden it's like 3 a.m. Like, oh shoot, I got to get to bed, and just a lot of things like that. Like I've been lately, I've been training, but the things like outside of that, like I've been reading books, playing video games. I'm actually trying to learn Portuguese right now as well.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so just I'm trying to utilize this time to do different things, you know.
That sounds, bro. That sounds great, bro. That's not even bad. Playing Warzone, yeah, and it looks like
never play video games, bro. Like I haven't touched a video game since, I don't know. It's been a long time. I got a PS4, but like I bought that new Call of Duty game when it came out. Haven't touched it. I opened it in March, so like when quarantine hit, that's when I opened it. But it's been sitting there in the cover, brand new. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just play this. So like, you know, I've been doing that. But once all this gets back to normal, I'll still be playing, but I don't think as much, because then I start getting busy with other things.
I think what it sounds like to me, boys, you got a great balance going on right now, Johnny. Is in terms of keeping up your training, staying in shape, but at the same time you're still having fun. You're still relaxed, and you're still, I mean, learning Portuguese. That's the shit right there, bro. I think, bro, I mean, it's a difficult time right now, man, and it's not easy. Of course, my heart goes out to families that have lost loved ones. I think, you know, back to what we were saying about weight cuts. I mean, what got me interested in weight cuts was watching the Ultimate Fighter. And watching the Ultimate Fighter, I saw the guys starve themselves and put themselves through hell to cut a few pounds off. And bro,
Okay.
throughout MMA, it's we've seen fighters even pass away from weight cutting. In your opinion, Johnny, and speaking as a fighter, what do you think about that? What do you think about what would make someone pass away from something like weight cutting?
That's a tough one to say, man. I don't know. I think it comes down to like really knowing how much you could cut. You got to be honest with yourself, because there's some guys. I don't know. Everybody's body's different. So, like you mentioned, the Ultimate Fighter. So there's guys like, say, we'll just use an example. The Ultimate Fighter's having a 145 division of fighters. They're gonna go in there and try to win a contract, right? So maybe I'm a lightweight. I've even seen like, welterweights, whatever. Maybe I'm like walking around at 170, 175, but I've been wanting to go to 145. I do the tryouts. This was back then. I don't know how they do it now, but whatever. They pick me. Now I'm on the show, but I'm weighing 170, and I've never made 145 before. So right there, I'm not being true to myself. I don't know in my head that I could make that weight. And then so you see those guys that were on there, they're in the sauna crying and crap, they can't, and then they don't fight, they don't make the weight. So to me, that looks bad, because as an athlete, you got to know what you're capable of doing. Like me, I know I can make 135, 125. I think that's pushing it for me. I mean, anything's done. I don't think I'd be able to perform the same. And I think it'd be very risky for me to do that. I think I'd be not in a safe health condition if I were to go to 125. 135, I feel great. Even 45, I feel great. But there's some guys at 145, I'm like, man, those guys are huge. Like me, like I feel like I'm a pretty good size 135er. And then like my last fight was at 145, and I felt bigger than the guy, and that guy's been a 45er. But I see 145ers like Zabit. Like, that dude's huge. Like I don't know how that guy makes 145. He looks bigger than some lightweights. You know what I mean? And so for me, like I think it's just coming down to really knowing how much weight you could cut, and then your coaches need to be true, honest with you too. Like, hey, like I don't think you could do it. It's very risky, and some people have faced the consequences, of doing that, and it's sad.
I think, man, I think people don't understand that there's so much more to MMA than just getting in the cage and fighting. I think weight cutting is something that if people haven't researched it, I think go and research it. And that goes back to what we were saying about social media. I think fans can't judge a fighter by their performance if they're not fighting at their weight. And man, I think you're right. I think for you, bro, what do you think is? I mean, walking around at 160 and logically, yeah, bro. What do you think your prime weight is? Do you think it's featherweight? Do you think you see yourself staying at bantamweight?
Yeah, I think I'll be 135. I'm able to do it. I feel fine when I do it. Obviously, it sucks, but I don't feel like dying, Obviously, some weight cuts are harder than others. But like, I feel good, I feel like good the next day. And for my weight class, I have like very good reach. Like my height's pretty good. Like I'm 5'9". My reach is 73 inches. So I think that's very good for the weight class. But like at 45, I feel like with MMA, the weight classes are weird. I don't agree with the weight divisions, even though this is what it is. But I feel like we need to have our own weight divisions, more weight divisions. So like, for example, like welterweight, that's 170 pounds. In boxing, that's 147. It's crazy. Like welterweights are like huge. Even though we're not boxing, but I feel like the boxing weight classes, I kind of like how they're closer. There's more options of weights. And I feel by doing that, you cut out, obviously the weight cutting is still going to be there, but you cut out some of those issues that guys that are like having a hard time making their weight, they do it struggling. Maybe they'll go up a weight class and they're able to perform better versus like 10 pounds. Because 10 pounds for me, like especially in lighter divisions, is a lot because it goes by body percentage. Yeah. So like, I don't know, it would just really depend. Like I feel I'm good at 35, but I feel like if there's like a 140, that'd be more ideal for me.
I mean, bro, you hit the nail on the head right there, Johnny. And sorry to stop you, bro, but
yeah, go ahead.
I think MMA could learn a lot from boxing weight classes. I think boxing have super middleweight, super welterweight weight classes like that. You know, they're right in the middle. Yeah. And it's I think the UFC have talked about 160 pounds, which I think it's right in the middle. But I think 150 to 160, bro, or 160, 165, yeah, that would be a weight class ideal for guys who struggle to make that weight as like sort of an open weight class. You know what I mean? And,
yeah.
You know, I think you're right, but I think Dana White should open his eyes and take some notes from boxing weight classes.
Yeah, like I feel like, think about it. I know it. So we're in combat sports. It's different than a lot of other sports. So some people think, oh, weight cutting is dumb, which I agree to that to a certain extent. Because I also, you know, you should be fighting somebody your size. You know, it could get dangerous. But I think if you add a few more weight classes, I think it not only it keeps guys fighting at a healthier weight, it prevents missing weight issues. And I think you also you could create better fights as well. Because think about it, like in boxing, they do it all the time. Someone that's like a junior welterweight, they'll go up to welterweight, and they create super fights like that. And to me, it gives more room because there's some guys like 155. That's a tough division. There's so many guys. If you notice, like the top 5 just stays the same 5 dudes every time. So maybe if you do, I don't know, just an example, 160. You might create new contenders. Maybe someone else will have a chance to have a belt. And some people will be like, because he couldn't win at 155. So you're going to go up 160, win a belt because he couldn't. No, that's not what it means. You're creating another division because maybe that guy has a hard time making 155. And then now you're putting this weight class. Maybe guys will fight closer to their natural weight than where they were at before. That's just my opinion on it.
I think you're right, bro. I think it creates new opportunities for fighters. There's so many talented guys at 155 and even at welterweight, bro. It gives them an opportunity because some of them walk around light anyway. Yeah. And I think it gives them that opportunity to sort of meet in the middle. And bro, imagine the fights that they could create from that 160 division. I think that could be something that we would see in that I would say the next 5 to 10 years. And then I think, bro, when we talk about weight cutting, when we talk about what weight to fight at, it's pretty much the fighter's decision, right, bro? I mean, you're not really influenced. It depends how your body feels.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. You know, you got to know your body. Like I know my body, so like I think that's why I kind of know how many weeks out I need to be. And I feel that's something fighters, they need to learn about themselves. And I feel it makes, I'm not gonna say easy, but it makes the process smoother and more of an educated process. So you're safer, you feel more healthier, you're not making unintelligent mistakes.
I mean, yeah, man, that's so true, bro. And I think we'll touch on that a bit later on. But as I want to talk to you about something, bro, because I was watching a previous interview that you sat down with, and you talked about a situation with Draco Rodriguez and that whole saga, bro. You were set to fight him. You were set to fight Draco Rodriguez in March.
I'm just kidding.
2019. Yeah, you know that, bro. I mean, I mean, bro. I mean, I know you don't like to hear it, bro. I mean, you've heard it.
No, man. Like I don't mind talking. On me, the thing with me, like I don't mind talking about anything. Like I like a little bit of controversy. So I think that's like I consider myself a critical thinker. So for me, I'm very critical on talking about all kinds of subjects, whether I agree with them or not. If I disagree with it, I still want to hear it out. You know what I mean? And that's what really makes a great human being. So yeah, feel free to ask whatever. I don't take offense to anything.
Thank you, man. I mean, no, bro. I mean, I'm just like you, bro. Yeah, I don't like it when some questions are asked, and I don't like asking some questions because of the reaction that you might get. You know what I mean? But so with that one, yeah, bro. And March 2019, yeah, you are set to fight Tony Gravely, and Tony Gravely got hurt, yeah, bro. And then
Actually, I actually got hurt on that one.
you got hurt in this one.
So I got hurt in training. This was like 2 weeks out, and I suffered a pretty good injury just rolling. And then that situation sucked, bro. Like, oh man, that was terrible. But that was the past, so we moved on from that. But yeah, at the time, I took that one pretty hard.
And then
that was the first time I've ever pulled out of a fight too. I never pulled out of a fight. That's the first time it's happened.
That sucks, bro. I mean, and then 3 months later, Draco Rodriguez steps in. Who Draco Rodriguez? Draco steps in and said he would fight you on short notice at bantamweight for the belt. And then he ended up, if my facts are right, he ended up getting a call from the UFC, and going there. How are you feeling during that time, bro, when you saw that he dropped out too?
Okay, so I feel like with this story, there's different information on it. This is what I know, I'm 99% sure this is the accurate story because the sources I got it from, I don't think they would lie to me. And the matchmaker at King of the Cage called my coach, who was my dad. So I remember I'm trying to remember this. I want to say this was 2 or 3 weeks out. I was like, this was our weekend, a Saturday. I was with my dad. We were going to go visit some family, like out in like Los Angeles area. And then my dad got a call from the matchmaker, and Draco, I guess Draco's coach, contacted the matchmaker like, hey, can we fight at 145? And then we were kind of like, okay, well, why are we going to fight at 145? This is for the vacant 135 King of the Cage belt. And, this is a belt like we've been trying to go after for a while. We were trying to go get a title shot in 2018. But there was, I don't know, the 135 belt over there was getting thrown all over the place. People getting the belt and not wanting to fight no more. They wanted to move on, so and so. So that was the agreement, fight at 135 Draco Rodriguez, which was announced. You could go to my social media posts, like when I had posted that, like in, I want to say maybe, when was that? So I was scheduled to fight him in June. I think I posted originally in like May, end of April, May, the poster, which was released. And even when I seen one of Draco's teammates, I think, comment on the poster as well. So like that tells me they knew about it. So, but anyway, the coach called and was all like, oh, well, let's fight at 145. And then we were like, well, I've already like did my part. I've cut weight. I'm not at 135 yet, but like my weight is lower, like, where it's supposed to be. And I'm like, why am I going to fight at 145 when I've been trying to get a title shot? You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to fight a main event fight, 3-round fight, and not get a belt at 145 because obviously someone else has a belt. So it made no sense. So I was like, no, like, I want to fight at 35. I want the belt. Like, that's something I wanted to have, like a championship belt on the regional scene. Yeah. So that was it. And then, like, I don't know, they were like giving the runaround, like, oh, well, we don't know if we can make the weight, so and so. And then out of nowhere, it's like he gets a call from UFC, whatever, and then it's kind of, and then with Cheeto Vera at 135. So I'm like, wait a minute, like you just said you can't make 135. So like, were you trying to BS your way out of this? So maybe UFC called, which I understand. Like if UFC calls, that's where we all want to go. But if you made an agreement to fight, just say like, hey, like I don't want to fight you. I can't make the weight. Just be honest. But the sources were like going all over the place. Like me, if I'm scheduled to fight, like say me and you are scheduled to fight in 2 weeks, UFC calls me. But if I signed a contract, it's kind of like I got to honor my word. I know I want to go to the UFC, but I feel like by me trying to go to the UFC, I'm going to get a lot of backlash. And I feel it's not fair to you, who you're also a professional athlete. You've been training for me, preparing all that stuff. And then also I'm just going to bounce and leave. And then who knows if you're going to have a fight, I might have just potentially left you without a fight. And, in the regional scene, it's hard. Like we're all trying to make it. We don't get paid $1 million. We're all trying to make it. So I feel like not only like am I being like not a man of my word, but I'm also taking money and food out of someone else's plate. But yeah, that's what happened there. Like he couldn't make the weight, but then accepts the fight with Cheeto. But then obviously he didn't take the fight. I guess he was under contract with King of the Cage. And I don't really know where that situation's at now, but I feel like if he would have been more upfront with King of the Cage, I feel like, that it wouldn't have be as big of a thing. And like my relationship with King of the Cage, like, I'm upfront with them. And, I don't like, there's no need to lie. Like they know where I want to go. And I feel like when you're upfront as a businessman, like things run smoother, even though there's always going to be snakes somewhere along the way. But I feel like if you're just upfront, people know like you're the snake on the road versus the snake in the grass. Snake in the grass comes out of nowhere, but the snake on the road, a lot of people are like, oh shoot, like I'm just gonna walk around like I know he's coming.
And bro, especially at that time when you said you got injured rolling, and especially when you're recovering from that injury, and a fight's made and you're all excited and shit, and you want to go back in there, but this shit happens. It plays with you mentally, bro.
Yeah.
When that guy stepped in, I forgot his name, who stepped in to fight you.
Renson.
Yeah, Renson.
Renson Otulinga, Mongolian. Yeah. I probably said his last name wrong, but that dude was very tough opponent. Even though he was unknown, whatever, like a lot of people didn't know about him, but that dude was tough. I've seen him fight in all of his fights. He comes out blazing out the gates. With me, he took a different approach. He was a little more cautious. But, yeah, he was definitely a tough dude. But, yeah, as you mentioned, that fight happened in June. I feel I'm not making no excuses or anything like that. But that fight was very it was a lot for me. And I feel like that fight made me a better fighter because I was overcoming a lot of things. I went into that fight. I probably should have waited maybe 2 more months to fight coming off that injury in March. And so I was like thinking about that the whole time leading up to the fight, getting into the fight. Like, man, am I gonna like get hurt again? Because like I was still feeling my injury, like not bad, but like it still wasn't. I was afraid to do certain things, like my training camp for that. Actually had to work around it, do different things. So I feel I wasn't able to do some of the normal things I usually do. So I had to train smarter. And I feel like I lacked a lot of reps on like drills that I normally do. But not taking nothing away from him. The dude was tough. Took me to 5 rounds. And I'm glad all this happened because that fight really made me better as far as like I know I could go 5 rounds. Because I remember before, I hear fighters like 5-round fights, like almost like it sucks. Like they don't want to go to the 5 rounds. Like they're all scared of it. So I was like, man, like I wonder how it is. So with that fight, I was able to get the W, go the 5 rounds. And I felt like, man, this is not bad. Like I actually enjoy being in there the 5 rounds, even though you want the finish, but it was like, okay, like I could do this. So I feel like that really shot my confidence up. And like I don't really care if the fight goes 1 round, 5 rounds. Like even after the 5 rounds, I was like, man, can we go a couple more rounds? Like I felt good. And he was bringing it, like I was bringing it. So it was a good back and forth fight.
I mean, bro, I was watching that fight back because I wanted to see what happened at the end. So because obviously with the whole saga and stuff, fans are obviously interested to see did someone actually step in? If so, who
Yeah.
stepped in? And how did this shit actually turn out? So when I was watching it, I know exactly what you were talking about. He was tough as hell, bro, and especially something on short notice like that. How are you feeling mentally after all that bullshit happened with you? How are you feeling mentally going in?
I felt good mentally, but it was kind of like when he pulled out, like, man, am I gonna have a fight? And then, but luckily, Renson stepped in, so I was able to fight. So I appreciate that. So we were both able to fight. But I'm not saying I'm like I know I'm a good fighter, but I have a lot of guys pull out on me, bro. Like there's a lot of guys, uh, like that will accept the fight, then I don't know, they get hurt out of nowhere, and they're I don't know, they get an injury, then all of a sudden the next day they're at the beach and crap taking pictures. So I'm like, I don't know, like if you're a fighter, like fight. If you accepted the fight, fight. I understand, like, there's some smart fights you should take maybe to get to a certain place. We don't get paid a lot at the regional scene, so I do understand that that some guys don't want to take certain fights because I got to fight this guy's 10-0. I'm only getting paid, I don't know, $1,000. So I understand that, but once you agree to fight, and then you pull out, something happens. Something like always happens. So I don't know. That's just my take on that. Like, there's a lot of these fake fighters, I call, like, I don't know, they're Instagram fighters. Like they act all like they're all about the grind. They'll post videos of them beating up beginners, or like they'll fight at Gladiator Challenge, or like certain shows like that are like not sanctioned, and they're fighting guys from the stands that have zero training, and they're posting videos of them looking beastly so their friends could be like, oh, you're badass. But like me, I'm a realist, bro. Like all my fights been with King of the Cage, sanctioned events. The fighters had to be cleared by the commission. So like I was always fighting guys that were on my level. Like my third fight, I remember I fought Musa Tolliver, who had way more experience than me. That fight I was a little nervous. That guy's fought in Bellator. That was like my third pro fight. But I got the W first round. So like, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like if you're a fighter, you got to be willing to take the challenges. And with me, I've only had like 3 guys I fought that stuck through the whole fight camp. Everybody else, like, it was just like opponent. So that's why my thing is like, you just always got to stay ready so you don't get ready. Focus on what you're going to do, and then that's all you could do, because you can't focus on things you can't control. But what I can control is what I'm going to do in that cage.
I think what we see nowadays, yeah, bro, is a lot more Instagram fighters. Yeah, as I love that expression, bro, because even if you're in the UFC right now, yeah, or in the MMA scene right now, your main thing, or even new fans, yeah, bro, and this is what pisses me off, is that new fans always say that, oh, Conor McGregor this and Conor McGregor that, and then you have guys like Colby Covington and Kevin Lee, and all these guys trying to be Conor McGregor to get big fights. Yeah. But I think that's bullshit, because I think, bro, a real fighter is someone like Tony Ferguson or Dustin Poirier, yeah, or Johnny Munoz, or Dan Hooker, guys like that, bro, yeah, who will take a fight anywhere, anytime, bro, and they fight because they love to fight, and not because they just talk shit to get a big fight. They fight because they earned it. And I think right now, social media has had a lot to play with UFC fighters. I think.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the main story I've been following was Tyron Woodley and Colby Covington and Leon Edwards. Yeah, bro, that whole triangle, that is some bullshit right there, bro. I mean, what's your view on right now, as we're not seeing it on your TV screen, but you're seeing it on social media, bro? I mean, what are your thoughts, JM?
Yeah, so like my opinion on it, I think I'm cool. Like the trash talking is funny to me. Like Conor McGregor, it's funny. Like I'm not being sarcastic, but actually enjoy watching him when he talks. To me, it's a good laugh. It's funny, like the red panty night, all those things. Like it's funny to me. Like I was like, oh, and to me, that's just who he is. You know, there's a couple things he says I don't agree on. Like he contradicts himself. Like sometimes he'll come out of nowhere and say like, oh, like he should be number one, but it's like, okay, well you haven't fought so and so. But anyway, but some of the stuff he says, I think it's like original. So with Colby Covington, I find him funny as well. I actually enjoy watching him fight, and he's not, even though he's kind of taking what Connor's doing, but with Covington, some of the stuff, like, okay, with the Woodley thing, I feel like, you know, he was calling Woodley out, and I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not in his head, but I feel like he kind of knew. This is just my opinion. He kind of knew, like, oh, I'm going to call out Woodley. You know, everybody's looking at this right now. I'm going to get all this attention, but this fight ain't really going to happen. So I feel like he was just barking, and the fight didn't take place. But I feel like he kind of knew that that wasn't going to take place. You know what I mean? I mean, that fight card that week, I think it was a safe assumption that everybody knew that that fight wasn't going to take place, that event. It was in England, and all of a sudden, that's when the lockdown started happening. And so they were looking for a place to host that event. They were talking about Indian land, Indian reservation, all this stuff. So no one knew where it was going to be. So fighters were stuck in Brazil, England. So it's like, okay, this is falling apart. So I feel like he took advantage of that because there were so many eyes on it. I'm going to call out Woodley, and then it didn't happen. So he kind of stood relevant in a way. I could be wrong, but I know there's people like that. They'll bark because they know it's really not going to happen.
You're right, man. You are so right, bro. And the main guy that really takes, I mean, for Colby Covington, yeah, bro, I've become a fan. I've become a Colby Covington fan, bro. I think Colby has turned that Conor McGregor trash talk around, and he's played it to make him a favorite. Yeah, but and one guy that just takes it too far is Henry Cejudo, bro. And I think triple douche is
yeah, Henry. I mean, I think he's a great fighter.
Yeah,
Some of the stuff he does, I mean, I guess it fits him because he's like this tall. But yeah, some of the stuff. I mean, I it's funny, but some of it's like, man, it's more of a funny like. Yeah, did he really say that? Like, there's some of the stuff. Like I've seen the weigh-ins earlier today. He took out the bag with the pillow, started kicking it. I was like, oh, man, what is he doing?
I mean, bro, he was in an interview with ESPN, and he goes, "I would marry Jose Aldo to get him to fight me."
Yeah.
I mean, bro, you're
the cringe.
Yeah, when Henry Cejudo came into the UFC, you wouldn't ever peg him for a shit talker.
And he changed, like but a lot of people were trying to do that to like promote fights, and I get it, like, you know, but sometimes some guys are like, oh man, like it doesn't fit you, you know what I mean? One person, like, I don't know if you ever heard Dominic Cruz's interviews. I think he talks smack very good, and like he sounds very smart. He's able to talk smack without cursing at the individual.
I think
it sounds very proficient.
He showed that in a couple of interviews, Johnny, with Cody Garbrandt, and he showed it in the interview with TJ Dillashaw. I think there's something with those guys, a team alpha male, yeah, bro. But Dominic Cruz just seems to like pushes them buttons, but he pushes it very, very, very smartly, like you just said. Yeah, man. I think carry on, bro. I think Dominic Cruz is the perfect example for how shit talk should be played out.
Yeah, like he does it very good. I mean, that's just who he is. Like he sounds very intelligent when he speaks, and I don't know. I think it's like he gets under guys' skin, and like with that, he doesn't really get upset. And like the Conor McGregor approach, that's cool too. But not everybody could do that. Conor's just like, I think it's just him who he is. But you see some of these guys, they try to do that, and it just doesn't sound good to me. It sounds like unnatural, and like they're messing up on their words because it's just not who they are. So I think you just need to be who you are, own it. And I think, you know, you'll blow up that way. Like with me, like I'm outspoken. I haven't had like fights where I had to talk smack on guys. Like my thing is like I'm not gonna just talk smack on someone. If they start it, cool, then I'll probably engage in it. It just really depends on like who I'm fighting, I guess. That could change later when I'm in the UFC. So I'm not gonna say I'm opposed to it, but every situation is different. And then maybe if you could be frustrated in your contract, maybe. So maybe you feel you need to talk smack to try to get a certain fight,
I mean, you can say that with James Vick, and that's a perfect guy, I think, bro, because he was.
I think you cut out.
Did I cut out? Johnny.
Yes, you there?
Yeah, I'm here, man. Sorry, bro. I think, bro, when you talk about something like shit talk, you think, is it really necessary? Did I cut out? Johnny, are you there, bro? Oh, fuck. Folks, we have very sorry, very technical difficulty. We have a technical difficulty here, folks. I'm very sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I think we have had we just have a technical difficulty going on, man. Let me just see. Venbo. Folks, I am just trying to get Johnny back on the screen here. Sorry about that, man. Folks, I'm sorry about this. He is rejoining right now. We were just right in the heat of the conversation. Oh fuck. You know what, folks? Let's hope Johnny rejoins, and let's hope the connection is a lot better. Folks, like I said, we were live with Johnny Munoz, and we cut out. I apologize for that. Just waiting for Johnny to come back in. There we go. Johnny, sorry about that, my bro.
All good, bro. Don't worry. Shit happens.
Shit happens. Fucking technology, man. So, bro, as we just wrap it up, I just wanted to talk about heritage. Yeah, bro, it's something that always interests me. What's your heritage, bro? As I assume Latin American. Talk about your heritage, man. What's your background?
Yeah, so with me, like I'm Mexican American. I was born in the United States in Southern California. But I like to represent the country of Mexico because I have a lot of family members down there. I grew up with a lot of, speaking the language, Spanish, and just a lot of my family members from Mexico. Like I grew up with a lot of them that moved over here, and then they had the issues of having to go back and forth. So like for me, like I really grew up in the Mexican tradition, the culture, and I know sometimes that's lost nowadays, where people become more Americanized, where they lose all those traditions. But for me, like growing up, that's what I remember a lot. I like speaking English and Spanish, but just doing a lot of things Mexicans do, like create like big parties and all that stuff with the music and all that, the food, and just really having a good time with family and putting family first. And I've been to Mexico quite a few times to visit family, and also like just to see different things out there. So for me, like yeah, like my culture is like Mexican American. For me, it's just, to me, you're either Mexican or you're not. I know there's Mexicans in Mexico. Sometimes if you're born over here, they're like, oh, you're not a real Mexican. Uh, but for me, if you really do the research on history, like I'm big on Latin, uh, I get Latin American history. Like I've done all my like reading on all that stuff because I'm big on culture as well. So I like to know about where my roots come from and all that stuff. So like what a lot of people don't realize, it's not used a lot. Everybody thinks, oh, an American is somebody in the United States. But I mean, an American could be somebody in Canada, United States, Mexico, Brazil, even though the term is not really like that, but that's what the term originally was. And to me, that's what it still is, because everybody on the Western Hemisphere is an American. This was like new land. Europeans came over here, uh, colonized the place. Regardless, they called everybody an American that was on this soil. Whether you were you had European parents. If you were born in this land, you're American. So my whole thing, like it's like with culture and all that, like I get it, but I think people get caught up in all that. Oh, you're not a real, I don't know, you're not a real Brazilian, you're not a real Mexican.
Fuck those
like
guys,
you
man.
throw that crap in the trash. You know what I mean? So I mean, there's always differences, but to me, if what are you doing for your people? Like, there's a lot of people I know. I'll use Mexico for example. People in Mexico, they ride their flag, but it's like, okay, what are you really doing for your people? Like, you embody the flag, you embody the people, but are you really doing? I'm not saying you got to give them money, none of that stuff, but what are you doing to improve your community? And it doesn't, like I said, you don't need to be giving anybody money. Are you out there? I don't know, maybe there's issues going on in your city. Are you out there maybe, I don't know, offering whatever it is you do? Maybe like for me, like jujitsu classes, like that's one thing I want to do. I want to start going to Mexico and just doing seminars. And I don't really care about the money. I just want to be able to, introduce it to kids, especially kids. I know like in the country over there, there's not many opportunities to excel. Like it's very difficult. Like you really have a couple different paths you could take over there. Like as far as whether you're an amazing sport athlete, which I mean, not everybody, that's a very hard route to take. It's a big gamble. You take the education path, which could be done, or you're just living day-to-day jobs like selling stuff in the streets, or you take a bad route and the kids join like the cartels and all that stuff. So like I feel like I'd really want to like for Latin people, this is just Latin people in general, like I want to be like someone that just makes a difference within all Latin communities. And it's something I'm working for right now. That's why a lot of my posts I do English, Spanish, so they could be able to read it, because I know they don't speak English. And there's even some people who are like, oh, you were born in the United States, like why do you represent Mexico more than your United States? I'm like, no, bro, it's not true. Like to me in the United States, like I'm big on the United States. I help a lot of people here already stuff, so I want to be able to also give back to the people of Mexico, because I have a lot of family members over there and stuff like that. So to me, like it's all like help people, be a people person. Like we are all one, regardless. That flag, we are all one. That's a flag I would like to purchase and start walking out with, because I feel people forget. Everybody has their culture, but don't forget we're all human beings. We should all like lift each other up. And when I say lift each other up, I'm not saying you got to leave your hand out there, but there's always something you could do. People don't realize that their actions, what they do in life, is going to affect somebody. What you say, what I'm saying right now, might affect somebody, and then it might make them motivated to try to do something. You know what I mean? So I'm big on that. Any way I could try to lift others with words or even my actions by getting in there and doing something. But yeah,
Literally, that is real. That is that, bro. That is as real as it gets, right there, man. I think, bro. Man. Nah, that is you just smoked it, bro. That's strong, man. That is real strong. I admire that. Yeah, I
no,
admire the fact that you want to do something for your community. Yeah, bro, and you want to go back and trace your roots and your ancestors, bro. And I think I can relate to that because I'm British Asian. Yeah, bro, and I think, of course, Brian, I can relate to the fact that you wanna read about your culture and your heritage, and you wanna see what was what and what's up, you know. And I think when we relate culture to MMA and fighting, yeah, bro, and I know some cultures actually relate their culture to being warriors uh, and the heritage is strong. And then when we talk about Mexico, bro, there are countless pioneers. There are countless legends, professional boxing, and now mixed martial arts that are coming up in the Latin American community.
oh yeah, it's a
And
new sport over there, definitely, and uh, they're starting to take off. It's still new over there, so you're starting to see gyms with more success and all that. And like I've been over there. I trained with a lot of the people over there that are in the UFC over there, and yeah, and like anyway, like I represent, like I'm Mexican blood. Like my family's from Mexico, so I just try to like represent them. Like I know the struggle it is to get over here and all that stuff, so I understand that, and I'm also proud to be a United States citizen as well. So for me, like, uh, and what I notice, I like to travel a lot. Like people in like third world countries, they tend to appreciate things more. You know what I mean? I think in the United States sometimes we forget about, we don't appreciate everything we got sometimes. We don't really see the value of it. And then with this whole pandemic thing now, you're starting to see some people, you know, go for their constitutional rights, which is great and all that stuff. It's crazy to me, but before they weren't seeing a lot of this stuff that's going on. And yeah, like for me, I think it's just, you always got to appreciate what you have. You don't really realize what you got. And for me, I'm not perfect, but I try to appreciate all the little things in my life. And that's why for me, like I really enjoy traveling to Mexico and just being around the people over there. Like they're hard workers and they really appreciate life. And it's just not them. Like when I gone to like other countries like Philippines, like you just see people are just different over there. They don't have much, but they still like appreciate things. They enjoy that they're just living.
that's real. That is real. Uh, so we move on from heritage and culture, man. It's a big thing in people's hearts, bro. You want to see where you're from. If you're born in the United States and you're from a different descent, you want to see what your descent is, and you want to see where your family from. And I admire people like that because it shows true character. It shows interest. So as we move on, bro, I mean, tomorrow night is UFC 249. Yeah, bro, and we're live from Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. Um, I just want to get your opinion here, bro, because there was a lot of criticism on Dana White, uh, mainly from Bob Arum. Yeah, bro, and Bob was basically telling Dana how much of an idiot he is to put on shows
Yeah.
during this time. So, Champ, I want to just get your opinion on what do you think about that? Because personally, I don't agree with hate. I admire Dana White for what he's doing. How do you feel, man?
Yeah, like to me, he's a trailblazer. He's trying to make a difference. He's just not going to sit there. People got to understand, like, with this whole thing going on, this is spilling into every field of work. Okay. And I know there's like what is essential. There's things that are non-essential. At least that's happening here. where some businesses can't open. But for me, yeah, there's a virus out there, but everybody needs to work. They need to be able to support for their family. And it's the same thing for us fighters. A lot of us, this is how we make money. We fight. You know what I mean? We get out there, we're putting our life on the line because anything could happen in that cage. It's dangerous. We're not playing hopscotch. Like, we're in there trying to put another individual out so we could get out of there. We win, we celebrate, we get our paycheck. So, for me, I appreciate everything that Dana White's doing. He's trying to push the sport forward. I didn't see anyone else in the MMA community doing that. He's able, maybe there were, but you hear about him obviously because, he's the president of the UFC. It's the biggest organization. But for me, he's trying to make a difference. Even though there's some fighters that I've heard they don't want to fight, which is cool. That's great, and he said it as well. But there are also some, we want to fight. Like me, I want to fight. Like, if I get an opportunity, I'm going to do it. Like, I think as long as you know that and you take care of yourself, I think you'll be okay. And especially with what's going on, you gotta be able to provide for your family. If you just sit around, there's checks going out, but that's not. Our economy is like in a big bust. So for Dana, I feel like he's pushing forward. He's the first sport organization to do so, if I'm correct. I didn't see any other sports pushing forward. So I feel like he trailblazed, and I see now, like you see, like I don't know if Bob Arum, but there's other boxing. I heard they want to go to Florida as well.
Yeah, Showtime.
Yeah. So I feel like you need somebody like that to, maybe I'll do it, and then you get like the whole people coming. So I feel it's a great thing. The fans get to watch at home, something exciting finally, and for the fighters too. We're gonna be able to get paid, that kind of stuff, and do what we want to do, and our goals will not be stopped. We're able to push forward, and that's one thing. There's a lot of people, I'm sure, their goals are slowed down or on pause because of all this, and so for me, I respect what he's doing. He's being a true outlaw. In times like this, sometimes you need an outlaw to push forward, and for the good cause.
When we talk the event, we're talking one of the most stacked cards in UFC history, bro. And I couldn't find a better way to re-announce or reintroduce MMA live on your TV screen. Even with an empty arena, bro, I don't think that even matters. I think that card speaks for itself. I just want to take your opinion on two main events. Yeah. Championship fights. Yeah, bro. And first one up, Henry Cejudo defends the Bantamweight Championship of the world against Dominic Cruz. Bro, I did a segment called Keys to Victory on the page, bro, and I want to hear your keys to victory. Johnny Munoz, what do you think, man?
So, whose keys to victories? Henry's and Dominic's, their keys?
Pick it, man. Yeah, both.
Okay, so I think I'm leaning towards Dominic Cruz taking the win on this one.
Yeah.
I know there's some people, he hasn't fought in a while, whatever. But people got to remember, Cejudo's also coming off a shoulder surgery. So this is going to be interesting on both sides here. Maybe they're both not going to be able to perform at their best, but to me that balances that out a little bit since, Cruz always, had injuries. Cejudo's coming off that shoulder. So, which I think it's not going to take nothing for the fight. It's still going to be a good fight. But I feel with Cruz, I think he's the bigger athlete. And size, it matters. Sometimes it doesn't. But I remember when he fought Demetrius Johnson, you notice how Cruz kind of smothered him to take the heat away. Though Henry is a great wrestler, Olympic level wrestler, that's what I'm curious to see. I don't see it on the ground. I think it's going to be a striking contest. But with Cruz's movement, the way he moves, and that's always proven to be a factor. The only one that's really been able to stop it was Cody Garbrandt, but that's because he just sat back, waited, let Cruz come to him. So I feel it's the Cejudo team going to do that if they're going to do that. But I wonder how effective it's going to be because Cejudo's been bringing it in all of his fights lately, like with Marlon, TJ. So he's been bringing.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So I just don't see Cejudo standing back like that. So that's what's going to be interesting. But for me, I feel like the keys to victory for Cruz would be, utilize his movement, stick and move. I'd try to land some takedowns in there once in a while. Try to put Cejudo on his back. I'm curious to see how Cejudo would fight off his back. That's what I'm curious to see. But if Dominic wins, I see it's going to be a 5-round unanimous decision. That's what I see. Now, on the Cejudo side of the spectrum, I feel Cejudo's keys to victory are kind of similar. I would probably sit back, let Cruz try to engage to him, because Cruz seems to not fight as strong coming forward versus when he's moving around laterally or moving back. That's what I would try to do, try to counter off him. Obviously, Cody Garbrandt's done that. Or, I'd try to come in, pressure him on the cage, maybe try to get Dominic Cruz down, which, he's hard to control. But, Cejudo does have that superior wrestling background. Maybe try to control Dominic on the floor. That'd be, to me, an interesting strategy. But I see this fight being a 5-round fight, and I think it's going to be an exciting one.
I think if it does go to a decision, I think you nailed it. I think to neutralize Dominic Cruz's movement, Cejudo needs to get him on that cage, pressure him. But people tend to forget how good a wrestler Dominic Cruz is. Great power double. He has that ability to, although he lost some of the scrambles against Cody Garbrandt when they were wrestling, he still showed great skill to get back up to his feet, because Cody was trying to hold him down on some exchanges. But when we see that, Cejudo is a much better wrestler than Cody Garbrandt is, so the exchanges may go a little different.
Yes.
But no, damn right, Johnny. As a fan, I'm leaning towards Dominic Cruz too. I think then we move on to the main event.
Yes.
And we move on to, and I see that smile on your face, man, for this one. We move on to Tony Ferguson, one of the most supernatural, toughest sons of bitches in MMA, against another tough son of a bitch, Man of Steel, Justin Gaethje. How do you see this one, man? Same system, keys to victory. Tony Ferguson. What's Tony's keys to victory, John?
Yeah, so I feel, both these guys bring it. So it's going to be a brawl. This one's going to be a finish for sure. For Ferguson, I feel like his, obviously pushing forward is going to be a key strategy, but he needs to stay offline a little bit, which I don't think he's going to do. But if you notice in some of Ferguson's fights, when he's in there in those firefights, I think his key to victory is to, get in those, obviously, press the action forward, but try to get a hold of Gaethje and end up in those scrambles, because, Ferguson, he has a very good Darce. He did it from stand-up from the clinch. So I feel for Ferguson, that's going to be a key victory right there, using his awkwardness to end up in those positions and try to secure the victory that way. So, like, by him pressing forward a little bit, doing what he does, and then getting the guy to react off it, and then they end up in a weird scramble position where Ferguson tries to, land a Darce, something like that in there. Something awkward that he always does. I feel that's how I'm going to see him win. For Gaethje, I feel Gaethje needs to counter Ferguson coming in my opinion. Because both these guys bring it. But the factor here I see, I'm leaning towards Justin Gaethje on this fight because of the power factor. That's the reason why. If you notice, Ferguson comes forward, he brings it, but he hasn't. The times he's got dropped were not by heavy hitters, in my opinion.
Like the Pettis fight.
Yeah. Some people are like, "Oh, Pettis is a heavy hitter." I don't think Pettis is a heavy hitter. He knocked out Wonder Boy. Wonder Boy walked right into that. That could happen. But Gaethje's knocked out a lot of dudes the way he fights. So he has power behind his strikes. So I feel he needs to catch Ferguson coming in. That's going to be his key to victory right there. Catching Ferguson coming in. And I feel if they both brawl, I feel like I got to give it a Gaethje just because of the power. I don't know if Ferguson could take those shots.
I mean, Ferguson was even dropped. He has that tendency of when he's moving forward to let his hands down. Yeah, John. So I think that's where Pettis caught him a couple of times, and
Yes.
um, I think when you look at Pettis's Ferguson's earlier fights as well with Lando Venata and that fight, he was almost finished in that one, bro. He let his hands down, and Venata was just swinging, and he dropped Ferguson clean.
Yeah.
So I see that factor. I think with Gaethje, you see a guy that's won his last 3 fights all by knockout. Um, and so that power factor could come and be the X factor, bro, right there.
Yeah. It's
Um,
gonna be interesting to see. So, I mean, that's a good point with the Lando Venata fight. I feel Gaethje's a more powerful striker, so that's why I'm versus tough. But if Gaethje didn't have the knockout ability, I would probably lean more towards Ferguson. But because of that, that's what's getting me to go. I wonder if on top of that, Ferguson's cut weight twice already in the last 4 weeks.
so you want cardio. Cardio going to be a big factor in this one.
Oh yeah, but I think cutting weight's hard already. But Ferguson did it when he was supposed to fight Khabib a few weeks ago, right? April
You
18th,
remember?
he did it anyway. That's hard on the body, man. Like people don't realize that. Like you could be in great shape, but cutting weight twice like that, short period of time. I mean, it's a little tough on the brain. I mean, we need this uh, to be able to take punches. You know, if you're not in shape, you're a little fatigued, your body's a little worn out. To me, you're not going to be able to take those same shots. So I wonder if that's going to play a factor.
No, I feel that. That is cardio. People underestimate how hard it is to have that cardio to go 5 rounds or to go 3 rounds, bro.
Oh yeah,
I think when you got a 5 round fight and you got what these guys have been building up to, I think you could give it to Justin Gaethje, but who knows how Justin Gaethje was training when lockdown was going on.
yeah,
Because Tony Ferguson has been making it public on Instagram, bro, which brings it back to social media and the crazy shit that he's been doing. Yeah, bro. People are saying, yeah, Tony gonna smoke Justin. Justin's fat. He's gonna be heavy. How do you feel about that, bro? In terms of cardio and conditioning and the build up, if you're basing it just on that, who are you giving it to, man?
I think Ferguson's going to have the more cardio. He's been training. Not saying Gaethje hasn't, but I also know there's a lot of fighters that they don't train when they don't have a fight. I don't know if Gaethje's that person. I think he works hard. But I mean, it's easy to kind of, if you're not fighting, maybe I'm gonna take this day off. I'm gonna eat a slice of pizza. Uh, you know, you're not training as hard. Maybe you're not doing the cardio workout. Uh, so I mean, that's definitely. I mean, that's been proven, man. When you take fights on short notice, you see some of these guys they tend to gas out quicker. So, I mean, that is a possibility. If I'm at the lead on cardio, I'm gonna go to Ferguson for sure.
I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it there. Johnny Munoz, Kid Venbo, has given his predictions. And folks, why don't you give yours, man? Follow Johnny Munoz at Kid Venbo on Instagram. Yeah, folks, and Johnny Champ, it's been a fucking pleasure, man. I have to say, bro, it has been a fun pleasure. Although, screw the disconnection, yeah, bro. It's been fun, man. And I would love to have you on again at MMA Reloaded. And bro, once these shirts come in, man, I would I would love to send you one, bro. Yeah, man. No, definitely, man. I thank you, man, for coming on, and I thank you for being a part of MMA Reloaded Real Talk, man. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate you reaching out. It's been fun, bro. And yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. I always appreciate the questions, all that stuff, and the time you take to look into all this information as well. So, like everybody watching, you know, appreciate. Thanks for watching. Give me a follow on social media. Give the MMA Reloaded page a follow as well. And yeah, everybody's just stay safe in quarantine, and don't forget, like, don't be lazy. This ain't a vacation. Stay training. There's ways around things. don't be a little bitch, right?
Peace, man. Thank you so much, bro.
All right, man. Thanks again.